Bienvenidos, bienvenidas a esta conferencia, a este seminario de Gastronomy Shapers. Welcome everybody to this seminar, to this talk. In fact, this day today is a very special one because all of you know that in September we created this initiative called Gastronomy Shapers to invite professionals from all over the world, from different sectors of gastronomy, to join us, to share with us, and also because of the technology, we had the opportunity to connect to professionals from all over the world that are like transforming gastronomy in their countries, in their sectors. And today we have the privilege to connect with Japan. In this moment, good morning here, good afternoon in Tokyo. And we have the opportunity to connect with Narisawa-san. Yoshihiro, welcome, thank you for being with us. Chef Narisawa has been a friend and member of Basque Culinary Center from the very beginning. He's a member of our international board. And well, in fact, in 2020, our plan was to have the international board meeting in Tokyo, in Japan. So I think we will do it when the virus allows it. But it is true that for us, he has been always a reference in Japanese cuisine, how he has developed his projects and his philosophy, always understanding and connecting with the deep culture of Japanese gastronomy. And he is going to talk about that and how he brings this Japanese culture, this tradition, to a modern restaurant. And well, he has been, as I said, a good friend, and he is a good friend of Basque Culinary Center. And well, I can only thank him. This virus and this pandemia is a global challenge, and also in Japan, they are suffering the situation. So I appreciate very much Narisawa-san for being with us, for sharing with our students your philosophy and your experience. So thank you very much. I would like also to introduce Professor Walter Philip, that I think he also add some comments in this introduction before we let Chef Narisawa talk about his presentation. Philip?
Well, thank you very much, Jose Mari, and thank you very much, Chef Narisawa-san, for being here. We're super happy to have you. We're really excited. Just this week, we were talking about Japan and trying to convey a little bit more what is such a complex and such a unique culture in general, but also, food-wise, it's such a complex concept. And that's why we're extremely happy that you were able to make the time to be here with us, especially in a time where everybody's so separated and we can still get together and share ideas. No? So yeah, when you're ready, we're here to listen.
Yeah. So hello, I'm Yoshihiro Narisawa. I'm very excited to talk with everyone today. Today, I will mainly talk about two topics. One is about Narisawa's philosophy. Two is our COVID-19 response. And COVID to this hard time that no one has ever experienced. Lastly, we will have a Q&A. Please feel free to read the slide during my presentation. So first, about our philosophy. Basque Country, where BCC is located, has a very similar landscape to Japan. People have a continuous relationship with forest and sea and live around with them. People's lifestyle is being flexible and adjustive to nature and is very sustainable. In Japan, we call this place where people and nature live together Satoyama. A countless amount of wisdom has been inherited from my ancestors through their deep relationship with nature. And I express that wisdom and culture in my dishes. And I call this very original style innovative Satoyama cuisine. Those dishes have to be sustainable, beneficial, and healthy to both the mind and the body. I'd like to create an opportunity to enter into forest through my dishes. People need to care for forests and take care of them. The forests are the most important thing to us. Forests create air, purify water, and provide nutrition to the sea. Let's move on to the topic of food. I will introduce some of my signature dishes. Satoyama scenery is a typical dish that gives people a chance to enter the forest. This one dish can uncover the secret of the most important food culture in Japan. The koji asparagus origin. As you know, by the work of asparagus, we have multiple fermented foods such as sake, soy sauce, and miso. This dish expresses traditional Japanese culture. It reminds the Japanese mindset of pursuing beauty in anything, even in the art of playing toys. Now, we must have the spirit of treating things importantly instead of disposing them. Now, I'm going to play a short video. COVID-19, the influence of COVID-19 has forced around the world to change. Of course, we also started to respond to change in society. Around March, COVID-19 began to spread rap- uh, rapidly, rapidly in Japan. All guest reservations from overseas had been cancelled. It became difficult for even local guests in Japan to visit the restaurant. I need a different style. We launched a new website which allows us to deliver takeout food. Mushrooms and vegetables grow well in the forest, and vegetables grow in the fields as usual, even in the case of corona waves. Narisawa's philosophy doesn't change for takeout dishes. Takeout dishes use seasonal ingredients directly from the same producers as a restaurant. Because of this pandemic, people are asked not to gather. Luxury brands and corporate partner parties have also been cancelled. Instead, we began to accept requests for special gift box for remote parties at each guest house. The producers who provide ingredients to restaurants in this pandemic have also been greatly affected. I launched to keep in touch with farmers to help them deal with the closure of many restaurants. This project connects farmers and general customers. In 2021, after the new year, it's clear the momentum of corona will not stop. The culture of takeout and to-go is changing from temporary to the new standard, and the chefs must continue to cater to society in this pandemic. Coexisting with new sectors will become important in order to adapt to society. Online e-commerce platforms have grown significantly since the pandemic. It may be one possibility that the food and beverage industry need to coexist with the telecommunication industry.
Excuse me, sorry, that's our.
They can hear you if you scroll up.
Okay, no problem. We are able to see the screen again.
Can you hear us right now?
No, they can't.
No, I already turned it off to mute.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear us right now?
We can hear you fine.
Okay, perfect. So we will begin from the conclusion again. That'll be okay?
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you very much. It says Q&A right now, but we will conclude right now with our presentation.
We are living in an era that no one has ever experienced. Let's think about the next step towards this new era together. The same problem is faced all over the world, across countries and races. Now is the time for us to become one and to tackle virus problem. The deterioration of the environment we are facing now and the problem of the virus may not be unrelated. The reason why the number of seriously ill patients has increased is largely related to unhealthy lifestyles. It's a must to improve our eating habits. Thinking about what to eat every day is important, not only for physical health, but also for the survival of humankind and the environment of the earth. Thank you for listening to me today. So let's move on to the Q&A now.
Great, thank you very much, Chef. Yeah, very interesting to hear. And really good to, it's really inspiring to see your reaction to this unknown and difficult situation, because of COVID. And yeah, it's incredible how you find ways to keep on keeping on. I was going to say, you've adopted, the Satuyama as, the innovative Satuyama cuisine. I wanted to ask whether there has been a moment in your life where you took the decision to concentrate on this topic, or whether it has been something that has fascinated you always.
一番の理由は、
So one of the biggest reason is
森が荒れ果ててるのを目の当たりにした。
when I noticed that the forest is destroying right now, getting damaged.
で、まあ、地球上からも森がどんどん減っていってる。
From the earth, the forest has been decreasing a lot.
で、まあ、さっき話したように、森がこの地球にとっていかに重要かということを考えたときに、それを料理で表現しよう。
As I mentioned it, when I was thinking about how the forest is important for the earth, that's when I noticed and decided to create the Satoyama cuisine.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, it's so present in your cooking. It's like you were saying, with so many of your dishes, you conjure up these images that take you into the forest or into nature, and you really get a sense of the environment. You know, it's a really strong message. This week we were talking a little bit about traditional, Japanese cooking and the concept of kaiseki, and how it's represented in many restaurants in the Japanese avant-garde today. Would you say that that you adapt certain ideas of what is seen as kaiseki or that format in your cooking in your restaurant?
解析については何かどう思うか、今のうちのレストラン関係は何か解析。
まあ、解析っていうのは一つの、ある時期に完成された、料理のスタイル。
So kaiseki is the one of the style of the cuisine that has developed in one of the time in the past, one of the era in the past.
で、その解析の元になるものというのは、やっぱりその、日本の自然の近くで住む中で自然に生まれた。
So there is the roots for the kaiseki itself as well. There is a history for the kaiseki, the why the kaiseki has begun, and that is those background and the roots has been created with the nature, along the nature in the past.
で、まあ僕の場合はそのルーツの部分をもう少しシンプルに表現しようとして。
In my style, in my way, what I do is I demonstrate to the customer through my dishes those roots of kaiseki instead of the previous style or the actual style of kaiseki. We are more focusing on the roots.
Right, thank you. Yeah, I mean, looking at your food, in the way that it's so natural. Also talking about, the roots of Japanese cuisine and the importance of produce, of the seasonal products and the seasons. We were, talking about examples like, for example, ayu being on the menu in summer, and you seeing ayu. I mean, you have yourself a very iconic ayu dish that's very, in your style. And what's importance do does the produce and the seasons have in your cooking?
まあ重要性だね、そのシーズンとその、
さらに一つにはその食材、イングリディエンツで季節の訪れを感じるっていうのが一つの、日本のスタイルかもしれない。
So since in Japan we have a 4 seasons, we would like to display those seasons by the ingredients in a way. Yeah, that is what it is. Yeah, so like from the ingredients, people will notice which season has come and notice what season will be end by multiple ingredients that we use every day in the restaurant.
Great, thank you. I was wondering, can you tell us a little bit more about your creative process when you submerge yourself, when you go out into nature, you reconnect. Can you talk us a little bit more through your creative process when it comes to then presenting it in your restaurant, the ideas that you want to convey?
アイディアからどうやって料理を作るか。
アイディアのことは、
アイディアのアイディアを。
そうやね、やっぱり森の中に入ったり、川を見たり、海を見て、その風景からだね。
The biggest part is, as you mentioned it, the viewing the sights, getting into the forest sees the ocean and the river and those touch the nature by seeing it visually is one of the biggest part, and being in the forest as well.
Yeah, I mean that's such a unique and fascinating part about about Japanese culture as well, this connection to nature. And I mean, the Satoyama region is such an interesting topic, no? Because it kind of represents people living with nature in harmony. It's sort of very regenerative, you know, the limit between what's populated and what's wild, no? Why do you think that in Japan there's such a strong connection to nature? Where do you think it stems from?
さっき言ったように、とにかく海とそれから山の間、だから本当にバスクの地形と似てる、だから平地がないところで生きてるから。
It is, as I mentioned, it is Japan has very similar landscape with Basque country, where the BCC is. We live along the really closer to the forest and also with the seas. So when we were born, there were always the forest and the seas really close to us. So that's why we has to build the connection with them. That's one of the reasons that we, as a Japanese, has very strong connection with the forest and nature.
Great, thank you. You were talking about, you know, your reaction to the crisis, launching, you know, the bento boxes. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you want to take this into the future, into the new years, or something you're thinking of continuing after the COVID situation improves?
そうね。続ける予定はあります。
Yes, we're planning on continuing it, even if the situation of COVID-19 becomes better.
一つにはやっぱりレストランに来れない高齢の人とか、やっぱりレストランに移動してくるのが難しい、今回のコロナに。そういう人にとっては、レストランの料理が家庭に行くっていうのが一つの。
So one of the reasons that we are continuing in it is that for those elder people or people who live in the countryside who are difficult to come to the actual restaurant, since we have a restaurant in Tokyo, we can give them an opportunity to having the dining experience of restaurant at home, which is one of the great concept of the delivery options. So that's one of the biggest reasons that we are planning on continuing the takeout menus, the to-go menus.
まあそれとやっぱりあれだね、いつもレストランが待っていて人が来るっていう形よりもレストランがもう少しアクションを起こすっていうのは今回すごくいい発見になる。
And the second thing that the one thing that we have learned through this pandemic is to instead of just restaurant is waiting at the restaurant for the guests to come, we have to make an action such as you know, the delivery option that we can provide our dishes to their home instead of the customers come to our restaurant and we just wait at the restaurant. So the second thing is we notice the importance of making an action, taking an action.
であと今回世界中のレストランが気づいたことだけど、やっぱりこういう非常事態になった時に、今回レストラン、イートインのレストランっていうのがすごくその可能性が狭かったっていうことに気づいた。
I think this can be related to most of the restaurants in the world, but when the pandemic has begun, I noticed that how those fine dining restaurants or dining restaurants has in a very difficult situation and had a lot of disabilities within the pandemic. So that's the third reason that I will continue the delivery options in case of any opportunities.
で、やっぱりこのシェフたち、料理人とか食に関わる職業の人たちが、どんな時代でも生きていけるようにするには、やっぱり臨機応変に、だからいろんなこう可能性をもっと考えておくべきだ。
So
Okay,
for
Hajime.
those chefs or cooks or even the food producers, we should have think about more alternative method of live instead of just cooking every day for the customers at restaurant. We have to be more flexible, and that's what we should have done before the pandemic. But through the pandemic, I learned the importance of being flexible and being alternative instead of just cooking at the restaurant. So yeah, what is them? Yeah, those are the reasons why I think I should continue the delivery option.
まあだから料理を作ること、シェフであるということは非常に喜びがあるし、人に感動を与えることができる。
Cooking dishes, creating the food is very joyful, and also it's a huge pleasure for me, even in any circumstances or any method or any way. It's still the same.
だけど、やっぱりそのスタッフもみんな生活をしていかなきゃいけないから、ね、いろんなシチュエーションの時に対応できるようなことを考えなきゃいけないっていうのはよ
But
くわかる。
clearly, for our employees or any staff who works at our restaurant, they have their own lives as well. So they have to live also within this pandemic. So we need to think, we need to be flexible, as I mentioned it, and we need to be more alternative in a way for them to live within this pandemic through the food industry as well.
もっともっと可能性を探していきたい。
So I think there is more possibilities for us to live through this situation, and I am still looking for it.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I mean, it's a fantastic initiative. And yeah, like I said, it's really inspiring, and it's just really good to see, you know, restaurants around the world to find ways to hang in there. No? I don't know if we have other questions from the auditorium. No. Well, yeah, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to meet with us at such a late hour in Tokyo. It's been, you know, incredibly fascinating, your unique vision and your unique representation of the environment of Japan and of Japanese cuisine. You know, is always interesting to hear about. And so yeah, Jose Mari, I'm sure you want to.
No, thank you. Thank you very much, Narisawa-san. It is a pleasure. And thank you for joining and sharing. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you. Thank you so much. Arigato gozaimasu.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you. Thank you.